Hello again. Today I'm doing my Victober Wrap Up. For the month of October, I actually read these 4 books and 1 ebook. So I read 5 books. The first book I'm going to talk about is Mary Shelley's The Last Man. This is a sci-fi book that Mary Shelley talks about the life in the 21st century, I think in the year 2100. And for me, it actually wasn't really that interesting. What's funny is the very beginning of the story, Mary Shelley finds these prophetic writings in a cave that supposedly is what this story is about, how she wrote the story, finding this 2100 set of writings. And actually, that beginning part was really good. I really liked the whole concept of finding these prophetic writings and how deep diving into this cave and all of this stuff that they had to sort through. It was very interesting. And then when you actually find out what the story was in this cave, is what this book was, it kind of just falls apart to me. It's very poetic, nicely written in a way, as far as the prose, but the story itself is pretty dull. There's really nothing about it that grabs me. The world of the 21st century is just not as inventive as it could be, except for I don't know, flying balloons and stuff. There's really not much going on in the world of the 21st century that she actually highlights as being so radically different. And it's about love. It's about loss. I would think she wrote this after Percy's death, her husband. So there's a lot of that in here, I think. Of her, has a character that's like Percy, has a lot of, love and loss in here. But in general, I just could not get into the book. I just did not find it that interesting at all. And I have to give it a 2.5 stars. So that's Mary Shelley's The Last Man. And by the way, this actually doesn't fit Victober. So for those who find out that this book is actually written in 1826, say, how did you read this for Victober when it doesn't fit? I thought it was after Frankenstein in 1830s, but it was actually written after Frankenstein 1818. Sorry, I have a cold. So it was written in 1826, so it's technically not in the Victorian period from this readathon, but I read it anyway. So that's Last Man by Mary Shelley. Another book that I read that I actually read on ebook, I actually started reading this in September, was Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton. I wanted to know a little bit about Elizabeth Gaskell since I never read anything by her, and I was going to be reading Wives and Daughters. So I decided to read Mary Barton. And I picked up a whole collection of Elizabeth Gaskell's books, and I really liked Mary Barton. Mary Barton's about this working class family, and this girl from this working class family who has 2 different suitors. This father who doesn't approve of one of the suitors. It's really a very interesting book because of the social aspect, dealing with the working class conditions in Victorian times that this book was written in. It was really well written about that, about the the plight of workers at that time, dealing with class as well, and and again dealing with a parent who's dealing with a woman who has 2 different suitors, and does a parent like this one or not like this one, and what happens. I just really liked the story. I thought it was very well done. I give it 4 stars. It's a pretty good story, especially if you like social commentary, and it was really nice to see some social commentary on the time written there so well. I thought it actually was written very well, and it's a little bit of parallels to current society too, I thought. So very good book, Mary Barton by Elizabeth Gaskell. Next book was Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell, and this was a really good book. This is actually just a regular book. People keep looking at this and thinking it's like a graphic novel or something because of the size, but this is actually just a regular printed book. This book is also about a girl and her father who she has a suitor, again, that the father doesn't approve of. And what the father does is remarries to try to, I guess, push her away from that suitor. And so she winds up having a stepmother and a stepsister. And the interactions actually of the stepsister and the stepmother, and the commentary on society. This is more higher up society because the father is a doctor, I believe. So this is about, a little bit higher up society and the roles that women have to play in the society, and the roles of propriety, and how they're actually supposed to act. It's all through this story. And the sister, Cynthia, I really liked as a character. And again, very well done book. I still give it a 4-star. I thought it's a well done book. Low in some spots, but in general, just really well done. This story doesn't technically have a complete ending because Elizabeth Gaskell died just before it was finished. But the author's notes, as far as the publisher's notes, and you can see where the story was going, there really wasn't much left to the book, so it's not that hard of an ending when you read it. So, but just be aware that there is technically no ending to this book because she did die before she finished this book. But again, it's still a great book. So I've read 2 Elizabeth Gaskell books now, and I've enjoyed both of them. Next book I was very pleasantly surprised of, which is Behind a Mask, the Louise May Alcott 4 short stories. These are thrillers from the woman who wrote Little Woman. And these are really good. I mean, I give this book 5 stars. Especially the first story, Behind the Mask. The first story, Behind the Mask, is about this governess who comes into this, into this house. There are 2 boys, or 2 men that wind up becoming enamored with her. And you think it's going to become just, the basic love triangle of other stories like I just read with Elizabeth Gaskell. But there's a little bit of a hidden agenda here between, with the governess, and you find out of kind of this aha moment at the end that's pretty shocking, to be honest with you. I loved it. I thought it was so gothic and so beautifully written. I was amazed at how well it just entranced me as far as the story and the relationships and the way they built it. And then you find out that the twist endings that this had. Just an amazing story, Behind the Mask. The next story, the Pauline's Passion and Punishment, that was about a woman scorned, kind of. A woman who thought she had a relationship with this person, and then, this person basically kind of dumped her, and then she meets him later on, and the story kind of goes from there. And it's also it's about revenge and bitterness and trying to I guess accept where you are in your life. But it's a very good, very well done short story as well. Not as good as Behind the Mask, but still also very well done. Mysterious Key and Abbott's Ghost kind of lean more into the supernatural elements to a degree, and were also pretty good. I actually like the first 2 better than the 3rd and 4th story. The 3rd and 4th story probably would give maybe a 3.5, but all in all, this first story is a 5-star, second story is a 4-star, and the other 2 are maybe like a 3.5. But it's a very good collection. If you find this, I definitely suggest you pick it up, or look online. I'm sure, since these are books from the 1800s, I'm sure you can find them free online if you really looked. But it's Louise May Alcott, Behind the Mask, The Unknown Thrillers of Louise May Alcott. Next book I'm going to talk about is Dracula. That story is a story I have read before. I was surprised at how well it was written. It's been a long time since I've read it, and I realized that out of all of these books that I've read, this is probably, you know, the closest to something I would be interested in, obviously, being a thriller fan. But it was just written very well. The pacing was good. I loved the world. I found a little bit more insight into Dracula as far as finding out that he had a mustache. They talked about in the beginning of the book, which I never realized. And there is actually some somewhat grotesque scenes, especially the scene where they killed Lucy in this book. I don't think I'm spoiling it too much, since this is a very well-known story. The scene where they killed Lucy is very graphic in this. And when I read it, I was like, oh, wow. I was pretty surprised, actually, how graphic it was. And it's just a very well-done story, and again, I give it another 5 stars. I really appreciated rereading it and realizing, you know, all the hype was real for this book, and I was really impressed with it. So that is Bram Stoker's Dracula. And those are all of the books that I read for Victober. Again, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.